Welcome back, looters. I am your host on Tick to Loot, the channel where we turn ticks into treasure. Today we are on Lesson 11.18 of Unit 11, Algorithmic Trading Fundamentals. In this lesson, we're going to cover three core ideas. First, we will define what VPS hosting is and how it relates to expert advisors, or EAs for short. Second, we will explore why a VPS matters to any trader who wants their automated strategy to run reliably. And third, we will walk through a quick, step-by-step checklist that shows you how to pick a provider, install your platform, and get your EA humming. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what a virtual private server does for a trading robot, why you should care about uptime and latency, and you will have a simple action plan you can follow right after the video. Think of a VPS as the rented garage where you park your car, your EA, so it can keep running even when your house, your personal computer, is closed or the power goes out. Throughout the lesson, we'll use everyday analogies, real-world numbers, and a concrete example of a euro to US dollar scalping EA that trades on a 5-minute chart. This takes practice, so don't worry if it feels a little technical at first. We'll break everything down into bite-sized pieces. Let's get into it. Let's start by defining VPS hosting for EAs. VPS stands for Virtual Private Server. Imagine you have a powerful computer that lives in a data center somewhere far away, and you can rent a slice of its resources, CPU, memory, and storage, just like you would rent a storage unit for your belongings. That rented slice is your VPS. The term virtual means the server is not a physical machine you can touch. It exists as software that mimics a real computer. Now, an EA, or expert advisor, is a piece of code that runs inside a trading platform such as MetaTrader 5 and makes trading decisions automatically based on the rules you programmed. When you run an EA on your home PC, it only works while that computer is on, connected to the internet, and not sleeping. By moving the EA onto a VPS, you are essentially placing it in that remote, always-on computer. The VPS stays powered 24/7, has a stable internet connection, and typically runs on high-speed servers. For a complete beginner, think of the VPS as a rental locker at a post office that stays open all day, every day, while your home office is only open from 9 to 5. The EA lives inside that locker, ready to act the moment market conditions match its rules, even if you're sleeping, traveling, or your power goes out. This simple shift from a personal desktop to a remote server is the foundation for reliable automated trading. Now that we know what a VPS is, let's talk about why it matters for traders who rely on EAs. The first reason is constant uptime. A typical home computer might be turned off at night, rebooted after updates, or lose internet during a storm. That creates gaps in your EA's operation, meaning missed trade opportunities or, worse, half-executed orders. A VPS, on the other hand, runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with an uptime guarantee often above 99.9%. In practical terms, if you have a scalping EA that looks for a 5-pip move on the euro to US dollar pair, missing even a few minutes can cost you dozens of trades. The second reason is low latency, which is the time it takes for your order to travel from the EA to the broker's server. A VPS located close to your broker's data center can shave off tens of milliseconds. For example, a home connection might have a latency of 80 milliseconds, while a well-placed VPS can deliver 15 milliseconds. That speed difference can be the line between getting filled at 1.1050 versus 1.1048, directly affecting profit. To illustrate, imagine an EA that buys whenever the 5-minute EMA crosses above the 20-minute EMA on euro to US dollar. In a live test, the EA on a VPS entered the trade at 1.1050 and captured a 6-pip gain, while the same EA on a home PC entered at 1.1052 after the price had already moved, resulting in a smaller 2-pip gain. Those small numbers add up over dozens of trades each day. So, a reliable VPS gives you continuous operation and faster order execution, both essential for protecting your strategy's edge and managing risk effectively. Now let's dive into a real-world example of an expert advisor, or EA, running on a virtual private server, commonly called a VPS. Imagine you have a robot that can trade for you automatically. That robot is the EA, a piece of software that follows pre-programmed rules to open and close trades. If you run this robot on your own laptop, it only works while the laptop is turned on, connected to the internet, and not sleeping. That's like trying to water a garden with a hose that you sometimes forget to turn on. A VPS, however, is a remote computer that lives in a data center and runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Think of it as a dedicated gardener who never takes a break. In this diagram, you see the VPS in the data center, constantly connected to the broker's server. The EA lives on that VPS, and as soon as market conditions match its rules, it sends a trade order to the broker. The live euro to US dollar chart on the right shows the EA placing a buy order at 1.1020, setting a stop loss at 1.0980, and a take profit at 1.1080. Those numbers are just examples, but they illustrate how the EA can act instantly, without waiting for you to open your laptop. The red line to the home PC highlights what would happen if you try to run the EA locally. You risk missing trades when the computer sleeps or loses internet. By hosting the EA on a VPS, you ensure that the robot is always awake, always connected, and ready to act the moment the market gives a signal. This setup is the foundation for reliable, automated trading. Next, let's talk about why a VPS gives you two major advantages: constant uptime and low latency. Think of uptime as the amount of time your trading robot is actually awake and ready to work. A VPS lives in a professional data center with redundant power and internet connections, so it stays up 99.9% of the time, almost like a lighthouse that never turns off. In contrast, a home computer may shut down at night, reboot after updates, or lose internet during a storm, creating gaps where your EA simply cannot act. Those gaps are shown as red breaks in the timeline on the right side of the diagram. Now, latency is the delay between the moment your EA decides to trade and the moment the broker receives that order. Imagine you're sending a text message. If you have a fast connection, the message arrives instantly, but a slow connection adds a noticeable lag. On a VPS, the physical distance to the broker server is often much shorter, and the network is optimized for speed, so the latency can be as low as a few milliseconds, represented by the short green arrow. On a home PC, the signal may travel through multiple routers, Wi-Fi interference, and slower internet, stretching the latency to dozens or even hundreds of milliseconds, shown by the long red arrow. Those extra milliseconds matter because the Forex market moves quickly. A price can shift several pips in that time, turning a profitable trade into a loss. In our pound sterling to Japanese yen example, the EA on the VPS executes a trade at 1.2500 and the order reaches the broker almost instantly, while the same EA on a home PC might send the order a fraction of a second later, by which time the price has moved to 1.2503, costing you the intended profit. By ensuring your EA runs on a VPS, you lock in both continuous availability and the fastest possible connection, which together form the backbone of reliable automated trading. Finally, let's address a common beginner mistake: picking the cheapest VPS just to save a few dollars. It's tempting to think, I can get a server for $5 a month. Why not? But this decision often backfires. Imagine you're buying a pair of shoes. The cheapest pair might look fine at first, but the soles wear out quickly, and you end up buying new shoes more often, costing you more in the long run. The same principle applies to VPS hosting. In the comparison chart, the left column shows a low-cost VPS at $5 per month. Its advertised specs may look okay, but the real-world performance often includes low uptime, maybe only 90%, meaning the server could be offline for several hours each week. That translates to your EA being offline, missing trade signals, and potentially losing money. Moreover, the latency is high, around 150 milliseconds, which is like sending a letter by snail mail instead of email. The delay can cause your trade orders to arrive too late, especially in fast-moving pairs like euro to US dollar during news releases. On the right side, a reliable VPS costs more, say $25 per month, but it offers 99.9% uptime and latency, as low as 20 milliseconds. Those numbers mean the server is almost always on, and your trade orders reach the broker almost instantly. Over a month, the extra $20 can be a small price to pay for consistent performance and peace of mind. Think of it as an insurance policy for your automated trading. When you factor in the potential losses from missed trades or slippage due to high latency, the cheaper option often ends up costing you more. So, the rule of thumb for beginners is never choose a VPS based solely on price. Look for a provider that guarantees high uptime, low latency, solid customer support, and a reasonable price that fits your budget. This approach protects your capital and ensures your EA can operate as intended, day and night. All right, looters, let's talk about how to choose a reliable VPS provider for your expert advisor, or EA. Think of a VPS like renting a small, secure apartment for your robot to live in 24/7. Just as you wouldn't pick the cheapest, sketchy landlord who might cut off electricity at any time, you shouldn't grab the cheapest server that drops connections or lags behind the market. The first thing to look at is uptime, which is the amount of time the server stays online without interruptions. A good provider promises at least 99.9% uptime, meaning the server is down for only a few minutes each month. Enough time for a coffee break, not enough to miss a market move. Next, consider latency, the speed it takes for your trade orders to travel from the server to your broker's server. Lower latency, measured in milliseconds, is like taking a short hallway versus a long corridor to deliver a message. The shorter the hallway, the quicker the message arrives. For Forex, a latency under 30 milliseconds to a broker in Europe is ideal if you trade pairs like Euro to US dollar. Data center location matters too. Pick a server physically close to your broker's data center. If your broker is in Frankfurt, a Frankfurt-based VPS will shave off precious milliseconds. Customer support is another pillar. You want a team that answers quickly, especially when you're troubleshooting a stuck EA. Finally, balance price with these features. A mid-range plan that offers solid uptime, low latency, nearby location, and responsive support is worth more than a rock-bottom deal that leaves you in the dark. By weighing these criteria, you'll find a VPS that keeps your EA running smoothly, just like a reliable landlord keeps the lights on for a tenant. Now that we know what makes a good VPS, let's walk through step 1, selecting the provider and the right plan for your EA. Imagine you're buying a toolbox for a specific job. If you only need a screwdriver, you wouldn't buy a full-size toolbox with a hammer, wrench, and saw you'll never use. The same principle applies to server resources. The most common specifications you'll see are CPU cores, RAM, SSD storage, and bandwidth. CPU cores are the brain power that runs calculations. An EA that scans multiple currency pairs needs more cores than a simple single-pair robot. RAM, or memory, is like the desk space where the EA keeps its work in progress. Insufficient RAM will cause the program to slow down or crash. SSD storage is the fast-acting hard drive where the trading platform and EA files live. A small SSD, say 20 gigabytes, might fill up quickly if you keep logs. Bandwidth is the amount of data you can send and receive each month. Most Forex EAs use modest bandwidth, but you still want a generous allowance to avoid throttling. For a beginner running a popular EA on Euro to US dollar and pound sterling to US dollar, a standard plan with 2 virtual CPUs, 4 gigabytes RAM, 50 gigabytes SSD, and at least 100 gigabytes monthly bandwidth is a solid starting point. It gives enough headroom for the platform, the EA, and a few extra indicators without overpaying. If you later add more pairs or a second EA, you can upgrade to a premium plan with 4 vCPU and 8 gigabytes RAM. When you browse providers, look for a clear plan matrix that lists these specs and compare the numbers side by side. Remember, the cheapest plan often lacks the resources to keep your EA running without hiccups, while an oversized plan may waste money. Choose the plan that matches the EA's needs, just like picking the right size toolbox for the job at hand. Great, we have our provider and plan. Now it's time for step 2, installing the trading platform on the VPS and deploying your EA. Think of the VPS as a remote computer you can access from anywhere, similar to logging into your home PC while you are at a coffee shop. The first action is to connect to the VPS using a remote desktop protocol client. Most operating systems have a built-in app called Remote Desktop Connection. You'll enter the IP address, username, and password that your provider gave you. Then you'll see a fresh desktop screen, just like a brand new laptop. Next, download the trading platform you plan to use. The most common choice is MetaTrader 5, often abbreviated MT5. Open a web browser on the VPS, go to the official MetaTrader website, and click the download button for the Windows version. Once the installer file appears, double-click it. Follow the simple wizard steps. Accept the license. Choose the default folder and click Install. After installation, launch MT5. You'll be greeted by a login screen where you enter your broker account number, password, and server name. This logs you into the same account you trade with on your personal computer. Now we bring in the EA. Locate the data folder from the File menu in MT5. This opens a Windows Explorer window. Inside, find the MQL5 folder, then the Expert subfolder. Drag and drop your EA file, which usually has an X5 extension, into this folder. Return to MT5, open the Navigator pane, right-click on Expert Advisors, and select Refresh. The EA will appear in the list. Drag the EA onto a chart, for example a Euro to US dollar chart at the 1-hour time frame, and enable auto trading by clicking the green button on the toolbar. Finally, run a quick test. Watch the Journal tab for any errors and verify that the EA places a trade in a demo account. With the platform installed and the EA loaded, your robot is now living on the VPS, ready to trade around the clock without you having to keep your own computer on. Now that your virtual private server, or VPS, is up and running, the next milestone is to place your expert advisor, what we call an EA, onto that server and make sure it works exactly as you expect. An EA is simply a piece of computer code that follows a set of rules to open, manage, and close trades automatically, so you don't have to click a mouse every time a market moves. Think of it like a robot chef that follows a recipe without you needing to stand over the stove. The first thing you do is open your remote desktop connection to the VPS, just like you would remote control a home computer. Then you install the trading platform, most commonly MetaTrader 5, which is the kitchen where your robot will work. Next, you copy the EA file, often a small X5 or EXC file, into the platform's Experts folder. This is the same as placing a new recipe card into a drawer. Once the file is there, you go back to the platform, attach the EA to a chart, for example a 1-hour Euro to US dollar chart, and set the parameters, which moving averages to use, the lot size, and the stop-loss distance. After attaching, you run a backtest. A backtest is a simulation that replays historical price data to see how the EA would have performed in the past. It's like a rehearsal before a live performance. Look at the results: profit, drawdown, and number of trades. If the numbers look reasonable, you then start a forward test, which means letting the EA trade on a demo account in real time while you watch it execute live trades. During this phase, you monitor the Journal and Experts tabs for any error messages, just as a chef would taste the dish while cooking. If the EA runs smoothly, you can be confident that the code, the parameters, and the VPS latency are all aligned, and you're ready to let the robot handle a live account. Remember, the goal of this step is not only to get the EA onto the server, but also to verify that it can read market data, send orders, and handle trade management without interruption. By the end of this process, you should have a running EA on your VPS, a successful backtest report, and a few live demo trades confirming everything works as intended. Risk management is the safety net that protects your trading capital, and a VPS plays a surprisingly important role in keeping that net intact. Imagine you have set a stop loss on a Euro to US dollar trade at 1.0800, which means if the price drops to that level, your position will automatically close to limit your loss. In a perfect world, the broker receives that instruction instantly, and the trade is closed the very second the price hits 1.0800. However, if your personal computer loses internet connectivity, freezes, or simply shuts down for any reason, the broker may never receive the stop-loss command. It's like having a fire alarm that stops working just as the smoke appears, dangerous and costly. This is where a VPS shines. Because a VPS lives in a data center with a dedicated, high-speed internet connection, it stays online 24/7, even when your own device is turned off or your home internet goes out. The EA running on the VPS continues to listen to the market, and as soon as the price reaches your stop-loss level, it sends the order to the broker within milliseconds. This near-instant execution reduces what traders call slippage, the difference between the expected price of an order and the price at which it actually fills. Lower slippage means your risk limits are respected more accurately. Additionally, a VPS often offers lower latency, which is the time delay between sending an order and the broker receiving it. Lower latency can be the difference between a stop-loss being triggered at 1.0800 or at 1.0795, which could translate to a few extra pips of loss. In practical terms, if you were to test a scenario where the market gaps down sharply, the VPS-based EA would still react, while a home-based setup might miss the signal entirely, leading to a larger loss. So, by keeping your trading engine online, stable, and fast, a VPS becomes a crucial component of a broader risk management strategy, ensuring that the protective measures you set in place, like stop losses, take profits, and trailing stops, are executed exactly when needed. To wrap everything up, let's walk through a quick, step-by-step checklist that will help you launch your expert advisor on a VPS without missing a single detail. First, pick a reputable VPS provider. Look for reviews, uptime guarantees of at least 99.9%, and data centers close to your broker's server to keep latency low. Next, select a plan that gives you enough RAM and CPU. For simple moving average EA, a modest 2 GB RAM and a single core will do, but more complex multi-currency bots may need 4 GB or more. Third, install the operating system, usually Windows 10 or Server, and then download and install the MetaTrader 5 platform, which is the environment where your EA will run. Fourth, upload your EA file, commonly a .x5, into the MT5 Experts folder. You can do this via the remote desktop's file explorer or an FTP client. Fifth, set up an auto-start script so the platform launches automatically whenever the VPS boots. This prevents the EA from staying idle if the server restarts. Sixth, run a full backtest directly on the VPS to confirm that the EA reads data correctly and that the results match what you saw on your local machine. Seventh, check the latency to your broker by looking at the ping value in the MT5 terminal. You want a ping under 30 milliseconds for reliable execution. Eighth, secure your remote access with a strong, unique password and enable two-factor authentication if the provider offers it. Ninth, schedule a daily backup of your MT5 data folder to a cloud storage service. This protects you against accidental file loss. Finally, keep an eye on the Journal and Experts tabs for any error messages or disconnects and address them promptly. By ticking off each of these items, you ensure that your VPS environment is robust, fast, and safe, giving your EA the best possible chance to perform as intended while you focus on broader trading decisions. Welcome back, looters. I am your host on Tick to Loot, the channel where we turn ticks into treasure. Today we are on Lesson 11.18 of Unit 11, Algorithmic Trading Fundamentals. In this lesson, we covered everything you need to know about VPS hosting for expert advisors, from why a virtual private server matters to how you set one up step by step, and we even tied it back to risk management. By now, you should understand that a VPS is like a rented apartment for your trading robot. It keeps the EA running 24/7, protects you from power outages, and gives you a fast, stable connection to your broker. You also learned how to avoid the common beginner mistake of grabbing the cheapest plan, how to pick a reliable provider, install your platform, deploy the EA, and run a quick test before you go live. Remember the quick checklist. Choose a reputable VPS. Match the plan to your EA's CPU and RAM needs. Install MetaTrader or your preferred platform. Copy the EA file. Set up the strategy tester and monitor the first few hours of live trading. This simple routine can save you from missed trades and unexpected slippage, which directly impacts your risk management and overall profitability. That is everything for Lesson 11.18. VPS hosting for EAs. If this helped you, smash that like button and subscribe to Tick to Loot so you never miss a lesson. Drop a comment below. What was the most useful thing you learned today? See you in the next lesson, looters. Keep turning those ticks into treasure.